Here is what election forecasters who predicted Trump's 2016 win are saying about 2020. In this video, we're going to take a look at the final forecasts among those who called 2016 right and how they're all saying the same thing. Let's just say it ain't good news for Sleepy Joe. You're not going to want to miss this. Welcome, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you, ready to bring you our latest episode celebrating the inevitable collapse of left-wing globalism and the unstoppable rise of a new conservative age. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. We'd love to have you as a regular part of this channel where each and every day we focus on optimism and encouragement in the midst of all the defeatist fake news spewed out by the mainstream media. Now, before we get into it, make sure to click on that link below. Head on over to my special website for our good friends over at My Patriot Food Supplies. We saw with the whole insane pandemic, we cannot wait for an emergency to happen before we respond to one, and no one makes preparing for an emergency more ridiculously easy and affordable than My Patriot Supply. Gang, they're simply the best. Their food kits last up to 25 years in storage. They include breakfasts, lunches, and dinners. And best of all, they got a guarantee policy that'll absolutely knock your socks off. And if you act now, and if you act today, you can save $100 off a full 4-week emergency food supply when you click on that link below to my special website. You heard that right, 100 smackers off. So don't wait, I've got my food supply. Make sure you get yours. Click on that link below or go to preparewithsteve.com and save $100 off your very own 4-week emergency food supply today. All right, let's dive right in here. We have a number of forecasts that not only got 2016 right, they not only predicted rightly that Trump would beat Hillary, but they also are predicting an absolute Trump blowout tomorrow night. Now, of course, these are predictive models, right? So we have to take them with a grain of salt here. And also, this is, of course, predicated on all of us going out to vote. Dick Morris was just saying that about 80% of Biden's vote has already been spent. His votes are already in. The one poll I came across a couple of weeks back found that 53% of Democrats had already voted as compared to just 25% of Trump voters. And that's the tsunami, the red tsunami that we may be seeing tomorrow night. So make sure you get out there and vote. Get your friends, your family, every single Trump supporter you know out to the polls. And we should see magic happen right before our very eyes on Tuesday night as the returns start coming in. So speaking of those returns, here are what some major forecasting models are predicting for tomorrow night. Let's start with the one and the only primary model, which is the distinction of being the single most accurate presidential election model in history. It has predicted rightly 25 of the last 27 presidential elections, so that's going all the way back to 1912. It's the algorithm put together by the Stony Brook University professor Helmut Norpoth, and that makes the model unique in that it uses no opinion polls. Opinion polls are completely obsolete when it comes to the predictions of the primary model. Instead, the primary model uses data from the primaries, which date back to 1912. That's the first time a presidential candidate had to win the primaries in order to run for the general election. And in each case, the statistical algorithm of the primary model discovered that the candidate who was stronger in the primaries, the candidate who won the highest percentage of votes in the primaries, always went on to win the general election. Indeed, when so many were predicting a Romney landslide in the 2012 election, Norpoth had predicted since January of that year, several months before the election, that Obama would win by several percentage points. Same with 2016. The primary model gave President Trump an 87% chance of beating Hillary Clinton in that general election. And those results, if I recall, were published in March of 2016. So very, very early on. So in this sense, the primaries function very much like the general election in microcosm. The winner with the highest percentage of the vote in the primaries always goes on to win the general election. So what that means then is Norpoth's model is the only one that has for more than 100 years selected the winner of virtually all presidential campaigns, I believe 25 of the last 27 elections. And I'm excited to announce that Norpoth's model gives President Trump a 91% chance of winning re-election And the model is actually predicting a win with over 360 electoral votes, which would be an absolute blowout. Now, of course, again, this is all predicated that we go out to vote. So make sure you do that tomorrow. But having said that, no incumbent has ever lost the general election after receiving 75% or more of the votes from their party in the primaries. And President Trump got 94% of the vote. Biden barely got 50% of the vote. So here we have actual voting data, actual votes, actual elections, actual winners, not opinion polls. And the results could not possibly be more discrepant from the opinion polls that are being peddled by the mainstream Marxist media. So that's our first forecaster. Not a bad one to start off with, huh? It's the single most accurate forecaster on record is giving President Trump a 91% chance at re-election. Let's move on to the second model here, and that's the Democracy Institute prediction. Now, the Democracy Institute is a Washington, D.C. and London-based think tank that rightly predicted not only the Trump victory in 2016, but also Brexit in Britain. They're forecasting a Trump electoral landslide tomorrow. Their final poll shows President Trump leading in the Electoral College by a margin of 326 to 212, significantly higher than the 306 electoral votes that Trump won in 2016. According to the poll, Trump leads in all the states he won in 2016 and is poised to gain 20 additional electoral votes with a combination of Minnesota, Nevada, and New Hampshire. You know, I talked to someone who was at the New Hampshire rally that Trump did last week, and he said upwards like 40, 60,000 people attended it. It was unbelievable. Again, this is all predicated on turnout here. Get out and vote. I'm going to keep saying that because we do not want to take anything for granted, but this Democracy Institute poll is obviously huge given how they were able to accurately predict the Brexit vote and Trump in 2016. All right, moving to our third and final forecast, and that is coming, of course, from the great group Trafalgar Group. Now, the Trafalgar Group specializes in polling Rust Belt states like Wisconsin, Iowa, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Minnesota. They were right in terms of predicting that Trump would win the Rust Belt in 2016. That's indeed how Trafalgar got on the polling map, as it were. They were able to see what very few pundits were seeing at the time, and that was going to be a total rout of Trump in the Rust Belt states. And Robert Cahaly, who's the senior strategist at the Trafalgar Group, he's saying as of this weekend that they're seeing a massive move towards Trump with late breakers in the Rust Belt states, as well as in North Carolina and Arizona. So he's noting that these voters don't want a new round of shutdowns, which they know the Democrats and Biden are promising. They have had it with the shutdowns, and so they're going all in with Trump at the 11th hour. So Trafalgar has Trump up in Pennsylvania. He's beating Biden by a couple of points in Pennsylvania right now. Trump is way up in Ohio. He's up in Michigan. He's up in North Carolina. He's up in Arizona. So Trafalgar is predicting a big win for Trump on Election Day. And so there you go. The three pollsters that call 2016 right are calling 2020 for Trump once again. But as always, look, you all know what needs to be done. Let's go out there and vote like we've never been more determined to vote before. Let's get out there with our friends, our families, and vote a straight Republican ticket. And let's together make 2020 the most amazing victory yet. All right, gang, before you go, make sure to like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel. And you'll definitely want to check out my latest video. I just uploaded it today on how the far left is freaking out as the GOP is surging and President Trump's approval ratings skyrocket the day before the election. You're going to absolutely love it. So make sure to click on the link, and I will see you over there. God bless.